Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Kingdom Communauté. I am your host, Nate King. As always, just reminding you that this is a talk show. So if you're interested in being able to comment on the videos um, or engaging with me and our guests in conversation, subscribe to the Discord channel to become an audience member. It is a $5 per month fee. It's a total of $60 a year if you engage for that long. But it gives you opportunities to discuss and in a safe space. So, without further ado, I want to introduce our new topic. And this is a topic that I actually wanted to have a guest for, but the people that I reached out to, I guess, were busy. There was literally no response, which is crazy. I might still do another show with a guest concerning this topic, and this topic might be really like taboo, no pun intended, but I just really wanted to talk about this because it's really fun for me, and probably for a lot of other people. So the topic is kinks and God, right? So like kinks and how God, kinks, fetishes, and stuff like that, and how that fits into your kind of relationship with God. And fittingly, I am wearing this. Let me see if you can see. I'm gonna bring this down. You can see my shirt. It says "Crew." I believe this is from the Darklands. Yeah, it's written here, Darklands. It's a fetish. Oh wait, let me show you the back. So I was. Ooh, let me put this back up again. There we go. So I was a crew. So I was a volunteer for the Darklands, and 3, maybe 4 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, maybe two, no, 3 or 4, I think. But anyways, and it was fun because I got to experience. I didn't know anybody that was going, so it was better for me to go as a volunteer, so I could still have fun and something to do. It's much more fun to go with other people. But yeah, and the reason why I wanted to bring this up is because talking, having my relationship with God. So you all know, if you've seen my other videos or any of my clips or whatever, you all know that God told me that they love me just the way that I am. Like, that is what God said. Included in this was, and because when God spoke to me, it was the thoughts basically that were transferred into my brain, if you will. I don't really know how to really explain that, but I knew what God was saying with these simple words, um, while it was being said, right? So it was that God accepted me, loved me, you know, you know, with the fact that I am gay. And the reason why that's so important is because, Christians love to, well, I grew up in a Christian environment where they were telling me that I had to pray the gay away, or I had to have faith that God will remove it and whatever. And I realized, well, when God told me this, I didn't accept it immediately. So that was my bad. I should have accepted, but also I wouldn't have been able to. I didn't know God. I didn't have a relationship with God at that time. So it was impossible for me to just be like, oh yeah, cool. Okay, nice. I didn't. So that's one of the why it's very important to teach people about who God is, so that when God does speak to them, they they aren't caught off guard and doing or saying the wrong things. This is why mentorship is also very good, but you need a good mentor. You have to have someone who walks with God, and I have not had that. So I I have had to raw dog it, as I've said before. So, anyways, um, included in that was also with God telling me that they love me just the way that I am is the fact that I love kinks, right? Kinks, taboos, fetishes. I love them. I don't love all of them, but I love the concept of them, and I have quite a few myself. It's it's interesting for me for kinks and fetishes and stuff like that, and I've thought for many years I've wondered where they come from, and I don't have a definitive answer, but I do believe that they stem from like our our pasts or our parents past and or our ancestors past. So I do think that that's where they come from. And what is also awesome to me is that they're not evil. I know that for a fact that they're not evil, they're not bad. um, just like anything else, they can be used in bad, or they can be used for a lot of good, and what's interesting to me is that it usually takes, say, for example, like slavery, like you could do physical slavery or just plain slavery, or you can do like sexual slavery, or anywhere in between. There's just a ton of different things. you know in and of itself, we know that humans mistreated their slaves, like they treated them like property and stuff like that. That is not something that God is acceptable. I mean, accepting, because they're God's children as well. So you're saying to this person who doesn't want to be, you're telling them you're less than a person. And in America, it was horrendous because it was literally put into the Constitution that black people who were, you know, before, who were like slaves, were considered less than a full person, right? That's not acceptable at all, you know? But kinks and fetishes bring type of, that type of thing that we should not be doing into a positive light. It can be brought into a positive light where you see that, oh, you actually can have this kind of dynamic, master slave dynamic, and it'd be positive and like fulfilling and fun. And you realize, oh, this is how it actually should be, not necessarily this way, but treating, it's like fully consensual, fully like desired, it's wholehearted. Um, the people engaging in this, they are experiencing themselves and having fun with themselves while taking part in one of these activities. And it could be a degrading activity, as if you're in this dynamic where it's it's a total power exchange, so the master is like completely in control and the slave has no say. That absolutely can exist in a very positive situation, and the slave knows to be able to trust the master, and the master is able to trust the slave, and so the dynamic works really well, and they're both doing it with their full heart and not being like, not feeling coerced into it or something like that. They might even just be experimenting, and just, it really is about the person's heart. It's about the people's heart, right? Um, and so it's not at all, it's not at all an evil thing. It's not at all a disgusting thing. It's not, God doesn't frown upon it. Anything that brings us joy, um, when it is not, we are not using other people in a negative sense to achieve it. It just brings God joy, because we're God's children, and they like to see us just happy, and experimenting and exploring and evolving. They just an anecdote. There there's been these posts recently, but they've started a long time ago. But there's these posts that, were talking about how the bananas didn't used to look like the bananas that we have today, right? They were mostly seeds, watermelon as well, and they've done a lot of like hybridization and stuff like that to get them to where they're at now, and they're perfectly healthy for us, right? But God gave us really kind of the basics of life, and we get to develop this. This is like our sandbox, and that's why, again, if we are enjoying what we're doing, God is enjoying it for us. And I'll take it even one step further. I mentioned in another video how God will find you sex partners. God has found me sex partners, right? I would ask, and I just receive them, and it's very much along the lines of what Nathan told the prophet Nathan told King David when he was chastising him for what he did with Bathsheba, right? He was like, and God was speaking through Nathan and saying, I gave you everything. I gave you the king's wives, I gave you the king's, like the kingdom. I gave you everything. And if that had not been enough, I would have given you, it said such and such in the King James Version. It's like, I would have given you more, right? So why would you go out and take something forcefully from somebody else? Well, not forcefully, because obviously it wasn't with the knife, but like he let his lust overcome him. And again, if they were swingers, I don't think that would have been the issue. But David was the king, and he got full of himself, and he was like, I want her. And then he did it, but then he realized that he had messed up. So he tried to rectify again, if he had done that and screwed up, he could have just gone to God and be like, I screwed up. I really am sorry. Please show me how to correct this. And God would have showed him a method of correcting the situation where everyone comes out, well, everyone comes out for the better, because that's what God does. But here, David screwed up, and so he tried to rectify his problem and just made it worse. He ended up becoming a murderer for that, like a cold-blooded murderer, and made other people, and included other people in the job. Like, it's not, and they're guilty for that as well, regardless of whether that was the king's orders or not. They're guilty for, like, can you see this? Like, culminating just evils on top of it, and all you had to do was just talk to God. That's all you had to do, was just ask God for a thing. So, when I'm talking about the fetishes and stuff like that, if there's a thing that you want, like a master, or if you want to be a slave, or if you want to be in chastity, which has been a big thing in the straight and queer community, or something like that, just talk to God about it. Just be like, I really want to do this. I've wanted to be in chastity for a while. I've been looking for a proper chastity device. I haven't found one yet, because my skin is super sensitive, so I have to find one that works. But I am assured that I will find one. But also, I do have a master. I've been wanting one for quite some time, and I have finally found one who I think we work very well together, because I have just a very specific, everyone does have a very specific mindset of how things need to go. And then this is what, and so I talked to God about it multiple times. It took a couple years before I was able to find the right person, but I have, and I'm happy, right? I'm happy about it. I wish that it was a little bit more like involved than it is at the moment. But all of these things, I just ask God for. I just tell God, this is what I want, and then I just wait, because I know that the time will come, and when it does, it'll be perfect. So I just, trust God that God is going to bring it, and God will bring the thing, So the thing about the kinks is that people like to push them down or kind of disregard them because they consider them sinful. They're not sinful. They make up a part of you just like your other desires, like your desire to. I was playing this my video game Elder Scrolls Online, and I started playing their card game Tales of Tribute that they have inside the game, and I wanted to. There's a ranking system which I discovered. I didn't know that it was in a ranking. Sorry, I didn't know it was in the ranking thing, and so I wanted to get to the highest ranking before the leaderboards, right? And so that's what I asked God for. I was like, I just want to get to the highest ranking. That's it. And if you win a match, you gain a few certain points, and if you lose, you gain it. You lose a few points. Which is a system I don't really like, but it was whatever. And I ended up winning. Right. I ended up getting to that rank. I got to the rank that I wanted to be at, which was the highest ranking, and I just felt like, thank you, thank you, God. It was, God, people think that God is just there for the, like, what we consider the big things. No, God is there for literally everything. So when it comes to kinks and taboos, don't be ashamed of them. Talk to God about them. Like, tell God this is what you want, and if you're in a relationship that, like, a monogamous relationship, and you want it to happen between you and your spouse or whatever, that's absolutely possible as well. It might take some time because obviously if one is into it and the other isn't, God's gotta work with them and talk to them. You can't push it, just leave it in God's hands. God will do the thing, and then when the time's right, God will let you know what you need to do, if anything. God will let you know, and then you do the thing. Like, it is very much about, like, just asking God and being at peace and understanding, which is a topic that I want to discuss as well. So, later, later. But what you don't want to do is kind of suppress it or push down your kinks and your fetishes, just like your desires. You don't want to do that. It will kill you slowly. This is excuse me, this is the fascinating thing about, like, life, right? Is that these things become a part of you, and then if you embrace them, they make you just a better person. They make you more, they make you happier. They make you more understanding and listening to other people, and they make you, like, friendlier, right? Because then you end up meeting other people like this, and it just becomes this huge, you just become an open person, the way you're supposed to be, not closed down, not fortified, open. God is your protection. God is your fortification. You don't have to worry about all those things. You're not supposed to be worried about anything. To be frank, to be absolutely honest, you're not supposed to be worried about anything. We don't know how to do that. I'm learning how to do that. It is a crazy ride, but you do learn, oh, shoot, God is doing all of the things. God is doing all of the things, you know? So your objective is, when you come across something, you're like, ooh, that sounds interesting. I want to try it out or something like that. And you tell God, God will make it. God will make it happen. It's a sandbox for us. We get to. It's not about stressing out and getting frustrated or whatever. It's about exploring our. And it's definitely not about making all these rules and regulations and stopping and forcing ourselves to be something we don't want to be. That's not what it's about at all. It's totally the opposite. So, um, I have here, I'm looking at my notes, obviously, but I have learned a lot about kinks and fetishes. I have learned so many that I did not even know existed. It's pretty fun, not gonna lie. Um, And not all of them are interesting to me, but it's interesting to know and talk to people who have these kinks and fetishes. And if you have one that's really crazy or bizarre, or you just want to share, please feel free to message me. You can't comment on the videos because you have to be a audience member, but in the Discord you can definitely talk to us about any kinks or whatever that you feel kind of maybe ashamed to admit. There's no shame here. Do not feel ashamed. But admitting your shame, or sorry, admitting your kinks and stuff like that to people who recognize that they have them, and it's like a welcoming environment. That's the objective, right? Exploring who we are and just going with it. um like I said, I'm very kinky, and I'm trying to create a world, not a world, but like a community, a huge kink community, so that anywhere that I go, in any city that I go, there's going to be some kind of kinky person, party, event or something like that going on. I was talking to some people online about it who have the same similar goals, and so I'm hoping that maybe one day we can meet up and really kind of put this into action. One day it'll be fun, just because, again, it's another side of what you like to do. I like to do a shit ton of stuff. I like to do a lot, right? So I have a side of me that's very kinky. I have a side of me that loves fantasy, um, like fantasy books. I love. There's a side of me that loves to write. Um, there's just multiple parts of me, and so it helps. It's just what creates me, and this is the person you get before you. Just embracing who I am, and knowing and loving the fact that God embraces me for who I am. That is just like, there's no better kind of existence when you realize that your creator also loves you and the stuff that you like to get into, you know, and is with you 110%, so that's really the fun part. um I fully support kinky events like Darklands, the Folsoms in US and in Europe. I haven't been to the ones in Europe. I've been to the one in the US. They also have in San Francisco. They also have a door and a Dory Alley, which I've been to once, which is fun. I made a lot of great kinky friends. And there was another, the horse market parties. I've only been to one once, but they are kind of getting more and more popular. Those I love as well. And in the kink community, they're getting better and better at being more, safe in these environments and stuff like that. Just because, just like anything, things can get out of hand, and you got to be able to bring things down if they need to come down, or pump things up if they need to be pumped up. Like, it's really they're really getting better and better at it, and so it just becomes more and more fun. So, and I also follow a lot of like kinky podcasts, like the Master Slave Lifestyle podcast, which is probably one of my favorite kinky podcasts that I listen to. There's also the Kinky Boys podcast, Naughty Audio for Men, which is it's yeah. I like that podcast a lot too. The Dom Sub Living BDSM and Kink podcast. I think that is a straight, a hetero, mostly hetero podcast, but they do share some pretty interesting, interesting dynamics and stuff like that. So it's fun to listen to that as well. I also get into erotic hypnosis. I am a hypnotist. I'm training to be an erotic hypnotist. So yeah, I just embrace all the things that come to me. So And so back to what I was saying about God and these kinks is what people tend to believe is that God frowns upon anything really, yeah, especially if it involves sex. Like if it's extramarital sex, they think God frowns upon it. Um, if it is sex, sorry, if it is anything other than reproduction, people believe that God frowns upon it. Um, Stuff like that. God does not frown upon it. What God frowns upon, which is written multiple times throughout the Bible, that is the Bible, is what God frowns upon is just in kind of an evil heart, and impure, um, just that 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 text in Proverbs. I think it's in Proverbs. These 6 things the Lord hates, yea, 7 are an abomination: a proud look, a lying tongue, hands that shed innocent blood. All of these things stem from an evil and corrupt heart. And so God is like, so anything coming from that, God's like, no, you know, uh, no. But anything coming from, like love and enjoyment and having fun and stuff like that um is God is like, yeah, let's do it, and he will help you, and they will help you find a way to enjoy it to the fullest, your fullest extent. So there is something that so when I said that something that God is not looking for, it is, unfairly treating someone poorly. Now there's it's you got to really kind of break it down. It's really about the heart, right? But you got to break it down too, because there are people who want to be poorly treated, but they want it, right? This is their desire, like their whole hearted desire. Then, between the two, you all figure out how that's going to work, and then you do it, so not, I am not yucking anyone's yum. Just, that is how you do it, and but what's not, I have an example here. um what's not acceptable, well, what needs to be there is a wholehearted consenting person with the capacity of understanding to be able to make those decisions and then have them make the decision. And that's kind of more of a legalistic term, and it's not something that should be like a check mark, check box or whatever, but it's something that should give you kind of an idea of how this needs to be. They have to be able to know what they're getting themselves into, um, and be able to have the capacity to be like, no, and not be afraid of saying no if it is not something that they want. There should be no coercion involved. There should be no threats. There should be no anything. You should treat this the way you would want someone to treat it with you. Do you like someone forcing you to do something that you don't want to do, or coercing you into doing something, or trying to get you to sign a contract, for example, that you are, that you have, that you're ignorant, that there are terms and there are hidden terms in there that you're ignorant of? No, you wouldn't like that. Then don't do it to other people. You don't, right? And so people would think, oh, well, if we talk or whatever, then it kind of ruins the magic. It actually doesn't. It actually enhances the magic. It's your mind that's telling you that it'll ruin the magic. It will not. It enhances it. And the reason why it enhances it, in my opinion and in my experience, is because now you know where the playing field begins and it ends, and you can do whatever it is that you all have agreed to do without worrying about these things. You still have to be vigilant, but you don't have to worry about these things, right? Because you know what this person is there for. You know that you all are consenting, and you know what you're there for, and it's freedom is far much more fun than restraint, right? So talk to the people, communicate with them, whatever it is that you need to do to get you both on the same page, and and be patient, learn how to be patient. I have no patience. I'm learning it with God because I've asked for it. And God has been literally, actively, painfully teaching me how to be patient, you know, and it comes, So, like I said, I had been looking for a good master, for someone that met who I am, and I didn't find him on an app. Actually, weirdly enough, I found him in person, and then I prayed, and I was like, God, if they're interested, give me an opportunity to talk to them. And I did. And he was unaware of the whole kind of dynamic, but we talked, and he was timid about it. Well, he wasn't timid about it. He was intrigued. He felt like he fit the buck, but he had never done it before. And so we just eased into it. And so that's why I'm just like, man, it would be great if, things advance. But we're easing into it. So he's going at the pace that he needs to go. And I am just telling God, well, I'm excited about it. And, I would like it to kind of get kicked up a level, because I've been in this for quite some time. So I like it to be kicked up a level. But at the same time, I'm doing other things. So there's no need to pressure him. Right. So it's really just this, I don't know, fun, symbiotic relationship, and it's great. So, and I have a note here that says your whole heart is a key, because I said a wholehearted, it's got to be the person involved. It has to be a wholehearted, consenting person. Wholehearted is important. It's not just a word. It means with your whole heart. A lot of people do not listen to their whole heart, but your whole heart will talk to you, and it will tell you about things that it doesn't want or it doesn't like. Right? I think they're doing. Construction. So hopefully you don't hear that banging. But anyways, a person that's doing it with their whole heart means they are completely in agreement. Their whole soul is in agreement with the thing that they want to do. Now that might take you some time to get to that level. It's just possible, but it's not. It's not. I guess you could probably still engage even if you're not that. Even if you're not fully sure what it is that you want. It's not for me to judge. It's for you to judge. You're your own person. So just if in my opinion, what you should do is just talk to God, tell God, and then engage. Tell God this is what you want to do, and then engage if you have an opportunity, and see what happens. So I wanted to kind of explain why this is so. Let's see. So what I have here is notes about what Jesus told the Pharisees and the Sadducees about the heart, right? I want to skip down to what Jesus said first about judging other people, which we've all heard before, but I'm going to read it to you, okay? It's in Luke 6, chapter 6, verse 41 and 42. This is King James. And it says, and why beholdest thou the mote that is in thy brother's eye, but perceivest not the beam that is in thine own eye? Either how canst thou say to thy brother, brother, let me pull out the mote that is in thine eye, when thou thyself beholdest not the beam that is in thine own eye? Thou hypocrite, cast out first the beam out of thine own eye, and then thou shalt see clearly to pull out the mote that is in thy brother's eye. Right? This is not an invitation. That last part right there is not an invitation for you to be like, oh, my life is perfect, so let me go help somebody else. Your life will never be perfect. So shut up. Just enjoy your life and try to figure out your own life, you know, with prayer and supplication, and let other people figure out their life. There was this comment. There was a question that someone asked Jesus, "What about this man?" or something like that, and Jesus was like, "What's it to you?" He was like, "If I have this man stay here until I come again, what's it to you?" Precisely. What's it to you? It's it's stop worrying about other people, right? So don't judge other people when they have their kinks and their taboos and their fetishes and stuff like that. There's no need to judge them. If it's not your thing, just be like, it's not my thing. You know, again, there are plenty of fetishes and kinks that I don't get into, that don't, they're not interesting to me. But other people, they're very interesting to other people. And that's what makes it fun, for them. And so I'm just like, do it, right? And I'm not putting on a bunch of rules and regulations or how you have to address it or how you have to do it. They'll figure this out. If you're going to do it, I would strongly recommend doing it with God, as in learning how to talk with God um, and learning how to have a relationship with God, because it'll work out 10 million times better. That's what I suggest, right? But there's also something. So I wanted to go back to the first part, which is Luke 6:43 and 45. Luke 6:43 says, "For a good tree bringeth not forth corrupt fruit, neither doth a corrupt tree bring forth good fruit." And verse 45 says, "A good man out of the good treasures of his heart bringeth forth that which is good, and an evil man out of the evil treasures of his heart bringeth forth that which is evil. For the abundance of the heart, for of the abundance of the heart, his mouth speaketh." Right? So people will try to judge a person according to their actions, what they see this person doing. That's not how you judge a person. It's not about what they're doing. So for example, if you see somebody stealing, you're thinking, "Oh, this person is a thief." I mean, well, I guess technically they are a thief, but you're thinking that this person is a bad person or something like that. It's not about the action. It's about what is in their heart. It is about why they did what they're doing. It is about, it is about what their heart looks like. So if their heart is corrupt, then the things that they're doing, regardless of what they're doing, is going to cause issues, right? But if their heart is pure and their heart is walking with God, sorry, I just keep hearing this noise, whatever. But if they're walking with God, regardless of whatever it is that they're doing, their actions resonate with God. And who are you to tell God that you don't like what this other person is doing, even if it's not hurting you? I mean, go tell God that. If you have a problem with somebody, go tell God and see how you should address it. That's plain and simple, right? But when a person is being there, and this can also be connected to, just being queer, right? Especially in the Christian type communities. It isn't, you all read the Bible and think, oh, the Bible says you should not have, men should not lie with men as with women, and you think you understand what that means. But no, God has laid out, he has told you, he told Samuel the same thing he is telling all of us now. You all look on the outside. I'm looking on the inside. That is what counts. That is what's going to get you into the kingdom of heaven. It is not about what the taboos that these people like are, or who they like to sleep with. It is not about that at all. Right? So, So yeah, anyways, and I don't want to belabor this point because I think the episode, I guess it's long enough, but I did want to reemphasize something as I close out here, is that when you go to talk with Jesus, when you go to have a relationship with Jesus, inevitably you're going to have to reconcile a bunch of things that you thought to hide. But it is stated in the Bible somewhere, I cannot remember exactly what the text says, but it says everything that was in the shadows will be brought to light. It will be. It will be. Okay? There's no point in even trying to hide it or trying to act like it doesn't exist. It will be brought to the surface and you will have to deal with it. Better to deal with it with Jesus than to deal with it without. Okay? Jesus will bring these things to light. You will have to reconcile with them. You will have to accept the fact that yes, I have a foot fetish, you know, or I like men dressed in a 3-piece suit, like it just does it for me, or whatever the case may be, like you're a man and you're just like, I just want to be submissive to a woman. Whatever the case may be, you just reconcile it with God. You talk to Jesus about it, you talk to God about it, and you reconcile it with God, and you will be living a happier, more fulfilled life. If you try to disregard it, it will eventually destroy you. That is how these things work. So, anyways, that's basically my understanding. This is my experience, how it has been with God when it comes to kinks and fetishes and stuff like that. God loves them. If you love them, God loves them. God will support you in them. Talk to God about them. Tell God what it is particularly about it that excites you. Even if you don't know, tell God you don't know. Just tell God the whole thing, and God knows already, obviously, but it helps you really start developing this relationship, this personal relationship with God. And that's really where you want to go. And everything that you do, everything that is a part of you, everything that you desire to do and stuff like that, take it to God. Do not omit it, God, from it. In fact, and just embrace, do the opposite. Just embrace God in it. Don't be ashamed. You probably will start off ashamed, but you will quickly learn. There's no need to be ashamed with Jesus. There's no need to be ashamed with God. God's seen it all. He's like, I created this earth, so God's not surprised by anything. Just go talk to God. God is also not judging you. Go talk to God and enjoy your kinks and enjoy your fetishes. Just do not do anything to somebody that you would not want them to do to you or anybody else to do to you. All right? Respect people. Basically, love your neighbor as yourself. That's basically what God is saying. Make sure that your heart is pure in God. And even if it isn't, go talk to God, because God is the one that will make your heart pure if that's something that you desire. Okay? All right. Well, hopefully I'll get to talk about this subject again a little bit later with a guest. But in the meantime, again, if you want to discuss this, feel free to join the Discord channel. Again, if you join the Discord channel and you want to discuss it, it is paid, but at least you'll know that the people discussing it there, they're not going to be running out kind of, trying to expose you or anything like that, But what I really strongly suggest is that you, in any case, you take it to God, because God will reinforce you. Okay, so it was a fun conversation. I love this conversation. I love topics like this. So if you want to be an audience member, don't forget to join the Discord channel. And in any case, I will talk to you again soon. Ciao.